Hey, you got the extra cuffs I asked for.
Forget to smile for the cameras.
There are moments in law enforcement that define more than just a career. They define what it means to wear the badge. Some of those moments come in gunfire and chaos. Others arrive quietly, hidden behind laughter, arrogance, and the illusion of control. It was one of those quiet mornings at the 17th precinct, the kind that begins with burnt coffee, paperwork, and small talk that hides deeper insecurities. The smell of polish and sweat hung in the locker room, a reminder that these men and women were still trying to look like what they thought real cops were supposed to be. A new batch of recruits had just joined, loud, energetic, half scared but determined not to show it. Among them was Officer Ray Torres, a 25-year-old rookie from a small town who believed confidence could outshine wisdom. He had a quick wit and a quicker mouth, the kind of officer who wanted to be seen before he was understood. "Fake it till you make it," he used to tell the others. And so he did. Every joke, every smirk, every loud word was armor, protection against the truth that he was still learning, still unsure. And then there was her. She stood near the back of the room, quietly tying her hair, eyes scanning the space, not like a nervous rookie, but like someone who had seen this all before. Her posture carried discipline, her silence commanded attention. But no one noticed, not really. To the rest, she was just another officer, maybe a late transfer from another district. Her jacket hid her rank, her composure hid her story. The rookies' chatter turned into teasing. They mocked each other, laughed too loud, and used humor to fill the air with noise. That's when Torres spotted her. He grinned and walked over, tapping his badge. "Hey, rookie," he said, his voice carrying across the room. "Don't forget to smile for the cameras. We make this place look good." A few officers snickered. One whispered, "Nice one, Ray." The woman looked at him, eyes steady. Not angry, not amused, just watching. It was a silence that said more than words ever could. But Torres didn't see it. He mistook her stillness for weakness, her quiet for shyness. He laughed again, brushing past her, unaware that the weight of his words would soon return to crush his pride. What he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the woman he mocked wasn't just another recruit. She was Commissioner Evelyn Grant, the highest-ranking officer in the entire department. Her name carried history, a legacy built on reform, justice, and fearless leadership. She was known for walking into precincts unannounced, stripping away the comfort of titles and rank to see her officers for who they truly were when no one was watching. That morning was one of those tests. She had decided to blend in. No chauffeur, no brass, no salute, just a uniform and a purpose, to see how her people treated each other when power wasn't visible. And what she found was telling. She saw laughter where respect should have been. She saw competition instead of brotherhood. And in one young rookie's arrogance, she saw the echo of a disease that quietly infects every department. Ego without empathy. Still, she didn't correct him. She didn't reveal herself. Not yet. There was something to learn in letting the truth unfold naturally. As the morning rolled on, Torres led the banter, unaware that every word he spoke, every condescending smile, was being noted by the very person he might one day answer to. Outside, the radio crackled with the sounds of the city, sirens, traffic, dispatch calls, fragments of chaos that filled the day. Inside, a lesson was brewing, one that would test not just a rookie's pride, but the entire department's understanding of what respect truly means. By sundown, Torres would learn that wearing the badge is not about who you command, but about the humility to recognize those who serve beside you, even when you think they stand below you. That morning began as a joke, but it would end as a reckoning. There are turning points in every officer's journey, moments that strip away the uniform and reveal the person underneath. For Officer Ray Torres, that moment came just before noon. A call came through dispatch. Unit 17, respond to a domestic disturbance at 214 East Monroe Street. Possible weapon involved. The room shifted from laughter to focus. The rookies tensed, waiting for orders. Torres grinned, trying to mask the flicker of fear beneath his confidence. "I got this one," he said, already moving toward the door. From the corner, the quiet woman, still unrecognized, stepped forward. "I'll ride with you," she said calmly. Torres hesitated, half shrugging. "Sure, rookie." Just try to keep up. The drive was silent. The streets glistened from an early drizzle, and the cruiser's lights reflected off wet asphalt like shattered glass. Torres filled the quiet with empty talk about how he planned to make detective, how politics ruined policing, how he didn't take orders from anyone unless they'd earned his respect. The woman listened without a word. Her gaze never left the road ahead. When they arrived, the scene was chaos. A man yelling on a front porch, a woman crying beside a broken window, neighbors peeking through blinds. Video 6, Torres escalates situation with commands. Torres stepped out, hand on his belt, barking commands before he'd even assessed the situation. "Sir, step away from the porch. Hands where I can see them." The man shouted back, angry, drunk, desperate. The tension rose fast, and every word Torres threw only added fuel to the fire. The woman beside him, the one he'd mocked all morning, finally moved. She didn't shout. She didn't posture. She simply stepped between them, her voice calm, yet impossibly firm. "Sir," she said, "I'm here to help. Look at me, not him. You don't have to make this worse." It was like watching a storm collapse into silence. Her tone carried something deeper than authority. It carried presence. Within seconds, the man dropped the bottle in his hand and began to cry. The fight was gone. The woman cuffed him gently, spoke softly to his partner, and coordinated backup like she'd done it 1,000 times before. Torres stood frozen. His adrenaline still burned, but so did something new, confusion. Who was she? He started to speak, but before he could, a black SUV pulled up. Out stepped 2 sergeants and the precinct captain himself, running toward her with visible panic. "Commissioner Grant? Ma'am, we didn't know you were on the field." The words hung in the air like thunder. Torres' mouth went dry. "Commissioner?" The same woman he'd mocked, teased, and called rookie just hours ago now stood in front of him. The police commissioner of the entire department. The captain stammered apologies. The sergeants snapped to attention, but she didn't acknowledge them. Her eyes stayed fixed on Torres. "Officer Torres," she said quietly. "Walk with me." He followed her away from the scene, each step heavier than the last. The sounds of the sirens faded behind them. "You like to lead," she said finally, her tone calm but sharp as glass. "Yes, ma'am," he whispered. "Then lead by example, not ego." Torres looked down, his voice cracking. "I didn't know who you were." "That's the point," she replied. "You shouldn't have to." Silence. The kind that strips away pride and leaves only truth. When they returned to the cruiser, she gave one last order. "Head back to the precinct. We have a conversation to finish." Torres nodded, unable to speak. His reflection in the window looked smaller now, the uniform heavier than before. He'd walked into the day thinking he'd prove himself as a cop. Instead, he'd be forced to confront what it truly means to serve. The call ended without a shot fired, without blood spilled. But for Ray Torres, it was the day everything inside him broke and began to rebuild. Because sometimes justice doesn't come with handcuffs or a courtroom. Sometimes it comes in the quiet humiliation that teaches us who we are when no one's watching. The ride back to the precinct was silent, the kind of silence that doesn't just fill a room, it fills the soul. Officer Ray Torres sat in the driver's seat, hands locked on the steering wheel, eyes forward but unfocused. Every word the commissioner had said echoed in his head. You shouldn't have to know someone's title to treat them with respect. The badge on his chest felt heavier now, no longer a symbol of pride, but a reminder of what he'd forgotten. Video 3, whispers and avoidance at precinct. When they arrived, the precinct buzzed with whispers. Everyone had heard. Officers who once laughed with him now avoided his gaze. The same men who had clapped him on the back that morning now stood awkwardly, unsure whether to comfort him or keep their distance. And then came the call over the intercom. "Officer Torres, Commissioner Grant would like to see you in her office." She sat behind the desk, Uniform crisp, demeanor calm, her eyes neither angry nor forgiving. Just steady, video 6, commissioner at her desk, Torres standing. "Sit down, officer," she said. He obeyed. The air was heavy, as though the entire department held its breath. She opened a folder. "Your record is clean. Good marks in training. Quick to learn, respected by peers." Her tone shifted, not colder but deeper. "Then tell me, Officer Torres, when did you start believing respect is something that has to be earned from you, rather than given by you?" Torres swallowed hard. "Ma'am, I didn't mean any harm. It was just a joke." She leaned forward slightly. "And that's the problem, officer. Too many jokes become habits. Too many habits become culture. And culture," she paused, "defines the soul of this department. Do you know why I came here without rank insignia?" she asked. Torres shook his head. "To see my department. Not the one written in reports or polished for press conferences, but the one that exists when no one's watching. The one that lives between locker room jokes and coffee breaks. And what I saw," she let the silence hang, "was a reminder of why justice is still fighting for air, even among those sworn to uphold it." Her words hit harder than any punishment could. Torres lowered his head. His voice trembled. "I embarrassed this department, ma'am. I embarrassed myself." Commissioner Grant exhaled softly. "No, Officer Torres. You revealed something, and revealing truth, even by mistake, is the first step toward fixing it." She stood, walked around the desk, and placed her hands behind her back. "I'm not here to destroy your career," she continued. "I'm here to see if you can rebuild it on something stronger than pride." Torres looked up, confused. "Rebuild it?" "Yes. You'll work directly under my supervision for the next 6 months. You'll shadow my community teams, every call, every report, every outreach. You'll see policing from the ground up, the real kind, not the kind that gets applause, but the kind that earns trust." His throat tightened. "Why give me that chance?" Her eyes softened just slightly. "Because someone once gave me one." Over the next few weeks, the department changed in quiet ways. The jokes became rarer, the conversations more careful. And word of what had happened, the rookie who mocked the commissioner, spread like wildfire through precincts across the city, not as gossip, but as a story. Torres worked harder than he ever had. He showed up early, stayed late, and learned to listen more than he spoke. He saw what real service looked like. The tired eyes of officers mediating family disputes. The quiet moments when compassion diffused violence better than any gun. He watched Commissioner Grant treat civilians, addicts, even criminals with a level of dignity that made him question everything he thought he knew about toughness. And for the first time, he understood. Policing wasn't about control. It was about responsibility. He stopped talking about earning respect and started living in a way that deserved it. One afternoon, after a particularly long shift, he knocked on the commissioner's door. She looked up. "Yes, officer." He stood straight, eyes clear. "Ma'am, I wanted to say thank you for not ending my career that day." Grant smiled faintly. "Don't thank me, officer. Thank the lesson." That evening, Torres drove home alone, city lights flickering across his windshield. He replayed the events of that fateful day over and over. The laughter, the shame, the silence. And he realized something simple, something powerful. It wasn't the commissioner's rank that commanded respect. It was her humanity, the same humanity he had ignored until it looked him in the eye and refused to back down. In the end, her words stayed with him forever. Integrity doesn't need an audience. Respect doesn't need a rank. And justice doesn't need to shout to be heard. That was the real badge, the one they don't pin on your chest, but carve into your conscience. Years passed. The 17th precinct changed. Not overnight, not through orders or memos, but through the quiet influence of a single story. They called it the Commissioner's Lesson. It spread from one station to another, whispered during training sessions, referenced in locker rooms, retold by veterans when new recruits began to believe the badge made them invincible. Every version was slightly different, but the truth remained the same. A rookie officer had mocked a woman he thought was beneath him. She turned out to be the commissioner, And instead of ending his career, she reshaped it, and with it, the soul of her department. Officer Ray Torres didn't stay a rookie for long. His time shadowing Commissioner Grant became a turning point. He absorbed everything, not just how to enforce the law, but how to live it. He learned that strength wasn't measured in tone or command, but in restraint, empathy, and the courage to admit when you're wrong. By the time his 6 months under the commissioner ended, Torres wasn't just a better officer, he was a different man. His voice lost its arrogance, replaced with the calm of understanding. And that calm, that quiet confidence, carried him through years of service. Decades later, in the police academy's lecture hall, new recruits filled the seats, bright-eyed, restless, eager to prove themselves. At the front of the room stood a training officer, older now, grey in his hair but steady in his bearing. Captain Ray Torres. He placed his cap on the desk and looked at the sea of young faces staring back at him. He could see pieces of his old self in each of them, the pride, the nerves, the illusions. He smiled. "All right," he began. "Before we talk about procedure, let me tell you a story." The room grew still. "It happened my first week on duty," he continued. "I thought I knew what respect meant. I thought I earned it just by wearing the badge. But then I met someone who taught me the hardest truth about this job, that respect isn't something we demand. It's something we practice." He paused. "And the person who taught me that was wearing the same uniform I thought made me better." The recruits leaned in, captivated. Torres told the story, not with shame but with reverence. He didn't hide his mistakes. He used them as a mirror for others to see themselves. By the time he finished, the room was silent. No one laughed. No one whispered. They just sat, absorbing the weight of a story that would one day become their lesson to tell. Meanwhile, miles away, in a small civic plaza dedicated to public service, a bronze plaque glimmered under the afternoon sun. It stood beneath a statue of a woman in uniform, confident, kind, timeless. The inscription read, "Commissioner Evelyn Grant, humanity must always come before authority, or else justice becomes just another word." Visitors often stopped to read it, not realizing that those words had once reshaped an entire generation of officers, and so the legend lived on. Not in medals, not in the headlines, but in the everyday acts of officers who remembered that story, who looked at their partners, their citizens, their superiors, and chose respect over ego, empathy over pride, because in every precinct, every academy, and every heart that wears a badge, the lesson remains the same. Integrity isn't what you show when the world is watching. It's what you do when you think no one will ever know, and that was the story of the commissioner's lesson. A reminder that justice doesn't wear a rank. It lives in the choices we make, when the badge feels heavy and the right thing isn't easy. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories from states of justice, where integrity always outranks authority.